this computer. I have Tricia from Asheville, you guys. I'm so delighted and excited. And we had a little bit of a delay before we scheduled this because we wanted to get it super anchored and integrated into your biz before we had this magical little moment. So without further ado, who are you? Where are you located? How are you doing here? Tell us about you.
Okay, well, I'm Tricia Zink, and I own Asheville Hair Design in Asheville, North Carolina. And we are in the beautiful Great Smoky Mountains. And yeah, I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
Well, how long have you been in the biz?
Oh, right. So I've been doing hair for almost 25 years.
Amazing. How
So
long have you been a salon owner?
12.
And how many team members do you have?
I have 2 stylists and a salon manager.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
But you had more before.
I did. I
And
did.
then you were already in that process of kind of like streamlining things and simplifying things like when we met.
Yeah, yeah. So, and that's what happens, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
so
So I'd love to know because you and I had such a deep dive during our discovery call, which feels like a year ago, even though it probably wasn't that long ago, but it feels like it was
right?
years ago.
Yeah, no,
Like you're such a
like
different person.
the
So
amount, yeah, the amount of growth that has happened and yeah, it's
it's
insane.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But can you tell those of us who are watching this replay a little bit about what intuitively motivated you to say yes to becoming light? Because I know that it was, nobody's ever super comfortable to join becoming light.
Yeah. Well, and your posts had been popping up in my Instagram feed for probably about 6 months. And then I think it was March when you posted one about would you like to have better energetic boundaries? Yes, please. So I absolutely am an empath. I feel everything. I carry everything. I am an emotional caregiver for a lot of people, and this year's been really hard. We've had a lot of changes and upsets, and not just in the salon, but personally. And I felt like I was at my emotional rock bottom, and something had to change. And that's usually how things happen in my life. It's like I hit some sort of it's not always like ultimate bottom, but it's bottom enough where I'm just like I don't want to be down there, so I need to start crawling back up. So that's what it was. And I just found out some health news about my mom, and like I was not in a very happy place for sure. And
Mhm.
I needed something different. I needed a new direction.
Yeah. Were you feeling that in the business also?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell me how is it manifesting for you? Like were clients like for me, for example, right? Like I was a therapist before I
Hmm.
knew anything about energy work, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, from the beginning of my career when I was an apprentice for 18 months back in the day when they made you do like 2 year long apprenticeships,
Hmm.
all of the hairdressers' clients would just bet onto me.
Yeah. Well, and
And
that's
I
how it's
was so
always
burned out.
been. I mean, I've been calling myself a therapist for years because I do have that personality where people are like, "Tell me what to do."
And you're like, oh God.
What do you think? And it's not about hair.
Yeah.
And I'm really good with words too. So a lot of times they'll be like, I have this thing and I don't know how to say it, blah, 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 blah. And we talk through it. I'm like, okay, so this is what you should say.
Amazing.
If it were me, I would say blah, blah,
Sally.
blah. So, and it gets exhausting, but not in a negative way. It's just like, but it's draining, and and you take it home with you, and you worry and you wonder, and then sometimes you have that client they have that amazing connection with, and then they drop off the face of the earth, and you're like, did I do something? Did I say something? Like, did I fuck up your hair? And then you reach out and they never call you back, and you're just like,
Yeah.
what do I do? So like even 25 years in the business, it's like that still happens. And I can have the same conversation multiple times of, you're not gonna hurt my feelings. I just, if there's something that's not driving, just let me know. Like it's totally fine. So, so being that for people is already a huge job. And I've always been woo, but not in my business. I was
Oh, tell me more.
well, when I opened my salon 12 years ago, I kind of opened the salon everybody was opening, like down to the color scheme. Like my font was papyrus. Please don't make fun of me.
Oh my
Uh, very dated.
Yeah, I know that font. I can see it.
Yeah,
I'm a former graphic designer and
yeah.
my many incarnations before becoming a hairdresser. So yes.
It was very visually appealing to me, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty. Um, so yeah, it really was like, because that to like before it became the joke that it is, like it felt very like, I don't know, not quite celestial, but that kind of like,
Yeah.
movement to it. So yeah. Uh, uh and
Well, we were talking about this idea that you were woo, but maybe not in your business.
right. So, I had home Tricia and work Tricia, and two completely different personalities. And which also gets exhausting over time. But my idea of professionalism is somebody else's idea of professionalism, from other salon owners and things like that. Not that they're bad. It's just it's over time you start to realize it's very sterile, and it's very kind of like straitjackety.
Mhm.
And like everything from like how you wear your hair. Like I was told early in my career, don't wear a ponytail unless you dress it up. Don't wear clips, don't wear barrettes, you know. Um, everything has to match, like, hair, makeup, clothes, like it all has to flow. And so now I'm like starting to adopt a 2 out of 3 policy. I'm like, you got 2 things that are banging, all right, that's fine. We don't always feel that way every single day. It's like,
Oh,
if I've gotten to the point where like, you know what, if I can get my hair, my clothes and my makeup on point, I'm gonna wear a freaking ponytail, like whatever. So it's been a journey in like letting go of a lot of things. And I've slowly been pulling out my crystals. I've been bringing stuff in from home, and I've bought a few new things. And like, I just keep adding a little bit more to my station. And my clients are like, oh my God, I love all these crystals. Where did you get them? And I'm like, most of them are gifts. And, some of them I've bought myself. And, they're like, oh, I just love it. And I've been talking more about the fact that like when I was in my 20s, I was a practicing Wiccan. Like, you didn't talk about that in the
you didn't.
late 90s, early 2000s. Like that was just not talked about. And through that journey, I also came to the realization that I didn't really need any form of like organized religion, so to speak, but
Sure.
I'm just a very spiritual person, and so I've always kind of brought that into what I do, just not made a big obvious deal about it, I guess.
Sure. Sure. It's a little bit in the corners and the shadows before.
Mhm.
And I don't know about your experience with people who practice Wiccan, but in my hometown, people who practice Wiccan, they looked like the actors in the movie The Craft, which is cool. It's
Fine, that's
cool
great.
when you're 15. It was
Mhm.
cool to me when they were 15. It was also a little super scary,
Yeah,
right? But it was cool
yeah.
and kind of costumey.
Mhm.
And as I have aged, obviously in the industry, like that was less appealing of wearing a costume. It
Yeah.
was more about wanting to come at it from maybe a more grounded space.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh,
Well, and that's the
so,
thing too. It's like when you're woo,
yeah.
people expect a certain look from that. And
Well,
that's that's not me. You
no.
know, I I I I'm perky and bubbly and like, I'm like a have you seen those memes where like you've got like the goth chick and then the pink goth chick?
Yes.
I'm the pink one.
Well, I always feel like, yeah, I'm like the version of like the Kool-Aid man. I'm just like, hey, it's like that's like how I am a lot,
Yeah, that's
but
hilarious.
also kind of, but also like kind of
But
bitchy and
yeah, like super
yeah,
awkward and just like, I look great. I put on a really nice face, but underneath it all, I'm a big nerd.
totally.
I like playing Dungeons and Dragons, like it's in my sweatshirt back there. And for years people, I didn't tell parts of myself to people, like, you
Sure.
know, I didn't talk about the fact that I'm a gamer, and my like we that's what I really like to do is play D&D on the weekends, and no, it's just like I kept it very surface, and you can kind of intuit the people that you can talk to about stuff like that, and then people are like, maybe they really don't care. But so not being able to fully be myself in my own business was really hard,
Yeah.
and prior to coming to this program, like I was already on a self-discovery journey. I've lost 80 pounds over the last year and a half, and so having to like actually rediscover myself physically on top of it, like
Oh yeah.
when we talk about transitions, like I'm hitting every single freaking point in my possible life that isn't everything's in transition, literally everything. So it's a lot, and I've just tried to embrace it as much as possible and just ride this crazy ass wave, and hopefully I'll still come out head up at the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, so I would like to know in your words, what about the process of becoming light helped you throughout this? Since you're saying that were hitting, smacking all the touch points, like, an old Simon game, you're like beep, boop, boop,
Right,
everything.
right.
So then, like, what about becoming light helped you in that? Or what about the
Well,
process did you
I,
like?
I didn't sign up because I was a salon owner. I didn't sign up because I was a hairdresser. Like that does play a part in it.
Yeah,
But,
everybody
you
comes
know,
in with their own intentions and goals, though.
yeah, I really needed to figure out how to have better energetic boundaries with people, like how not to give pieces of myself to make other people feel better. Like how do I pull that from something else somewhere else in order to like still be able to provide the care and love that they deserve, and still provide that for myself as well. So I have a lot of inner healing of my own that has to happen. I have a lot of abandonment issues. There are a lot of things that came up in some of our classes that like I needed a couple of days to just like sit with and like wade through it and be like, why, and where does it come from, and what do I need to do to like help heal that for myself. And I had a very angry 12-year-old little girl inside of me, and I think I've gotten her to about sad. you know so,
Hey,
it's a process, right? So
yes.
and there's a lot going on in my personal life that it's a seesaw. So, but being able to be a lot more aware of it and understand like when I feel immature and like and I have to apologize because I feel like I'm throwing a temper tantrum, like why do I feel that way? And understanding there's a reason for that. And and she doesn't feel safe. And yeah. So definitely not done with that by any means. There's still a lot of work to do.
Well, since you said that your major intention and the thing that really spoke to you the most is better energetic boundaries, so then did you get that?
I think I have actually. I think I've really been more focused on being a better communicator so that people will communicate better with me.
Mhm.
So, and then I'm learning that no is a complete sentence,
Mhm. Yeah.
and not having to say no because they don't need to know. Like, no, that's I don't want to do that, you know.
Yeah.
And lots of conversations with my husband too, throughout this entire process. because he and I are actually really, really fabulous communicators. And so, and there's been a couple times in our marriage where it's like, I didn't want to do something, and he's like, well, but blah, 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 and I'll go, and then I end up not having a good time, and then he realizes I don't have a good time, and then he's like, I'm sorry. So next time when I say no, okay, thanks. So yeah, so that's actually been really great too, because learning how I want to be communicated to, and how I talk to myself as well, and helping to educate others like how I want to be spoken to.
Mhm.
And so, and everything that we learn is going to just bubble over into what I do at the salon, and so a lot of this stuff I'm just kind of more focusing on what I need, and putting myself first, and not feeling guilty about it, because I shouldn't feel guilty about it. And by doing that, I can take better care of everybody else.
Right. Now let's talk about the healing, actual like holistic healing systems and the experiences that you've had with your clients.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me a little bit about the results of that process, or some of the results that you experienced beyond the energetic boundaries and hygiene?
Yeah. So I think that it was really interesting when I started talking about this before I did any changes. And the clients that were like, "Oh my God, I want to do that. That sounds amazing." And okay, great, yeah. So you know, up until this month, I've also was that stylist that was booked to the minute, and so didn't really have any extra time to like put anything in there. So September 1st is when the price increase happened, and I also restructured how I do services. So I've only had a handful of days, but so the few that I've gotten to do things on, they're just like the biggest thing is like, oh my gosh, I just feel so relaxed right now. And I'm like, more than you usually do? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, that's great. That's all I want, really. Like that's all I care about. And so and I was really worried about, I transitioned a lot of my 30-minute haircuts, because I also upgraded out of 30 and 45-minute services, because I physically can't do it anymore. And so my base service starts at an hour. And so, some of my 30-minute people have transitioned over to my team, which has been great. And I've kept a handful. And so, trying to figure out like, how do I fill a whole hour with like just a 30-minute haircut? So, but it's fun, because it's like, okay, I'm experimenting. So let me know what you like, let me know what you don't like, and I'm going to figure out like what works and what doesn't. And the feedback so far has been super, super great, super awesome. So, and and it's interesting, like you have these ideas of like the clients that are like, oh, they're not gonna want to do any of this. They're not gonna like do any of it. They're gonna hate the increase. They're gonna, they're just gonna be mad or whatever. And those are the ones that surprise you, because they're like, I don't care. Put me back on schedule. Okay. And then the ones that you're like, I had one who is wooey like me, and when I called her to talk to her about her appointment, and she was like, oh my gosh, no, I'm very happy for you, I'm very proud of you, I'm just incredibly disappointed. And like her voice dropped, and and I was like, why do I feel like I'm being reprimanded right now, like but and then the clients that are super excited for me and so happy, and they are like, yes, you have to do this for yourself, I'm so proud of you, it's not in my budget. I'm like, that's okay, because I've got two amazing stylists that I have trained, and I am here for you. I can still take care of you the best way that I can within your means.
That's great.
So, and that's mostly been the conversations.
Can we
So
talk about how you feel now at the end of the day?
so much lighter.
I love how your voice changed.
It's amazing when you actually give yourself time and you can focus on just one person. Because the other thing is I'm not double booking anymore. I'm also not scheduling out the entire year because I don't want to be tied to my chair all the time. And I was already feeling that way and I didn't know how to get out of it. And so, it was really scary to just be like, okay, September 1st, we're clearing the books. So if you have an appointment, we got to get you back on the books. And so that's scary. But the people that are completely into it are completely into it, and they're just like, I'm gonna make it work. I'll figure it out. Okay, great. And then the ones that aren't, yeah, that's okay too. So I have a solution if you would like the solution. And to me, it doesn't make sense because we're a team-based company. So like we encourage our clients to get to know everybody, right? So why would you want to go somewhere else and develop a completely new relationship with a complete stranger when we've got two other people who do know you and love you and want to take care of you? But it's interesting. I still had like a handful of people who are like, well, I'm gonna think about it, and we're probably never going to hear from them again. And it just makes me sad.
Yeah, but it's also just a part of growth. It's
Right.
always how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So,
you've already been touching on it, but can you talk to me about how this has impacted your life as a whole? Because I know that during some of our active time, like you were working with one of your children, and that was a huge moment.
yeah.
So if you would like to share any pieces of
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Absolutely. So, my 18-year-old is transgender. And so he was scheduled for his top surgery at the end of June. So for like a week beforehand, I did a lot of just a lot of energy work just to kind of improve energy flow and help make him feel better. And it was really interesting because inevitably there's always gonna be that one person who's like, so can you like read my mind?
And you're like, yes, but I'm not going to tell you what I saw.
Right. And he asked me that, and I'm like, no, baby, that's not how that works. It's like, now I can read your energy, but I don't know what it means. Like, only you know what it means. And so it ended up creating an opportunity for a conversation that he'd been wanting to have, but not knowing how to start it. And it gave us that safe space to have this conversation. And I was like, I'm not going to be judgmental. Like it's going to be fine. And so it was a really beautiful, sweet moment. And you could just see his like this weight come off of him, and just was like, okay, I can finally like talk to you about what's been bothering me. And so that was pretty incredible. And then for about 2 weeks, I had all three of them and my husband doing chakra balancing every night. And then
That's amazing.
and
That's so
then
great.
eventually my 14-year-old was like, okay, I'm done. And my 8-year-old still asks for it on occasion. But the problem is I know he's using it as a deflection to go to bed. So I'm like, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it with you. I'm not going to sit here and do it for myself and watch you like do all this stuff. So that's been interesting too. But every once in a while I can tell he's like really earnest about it. He's like, no, I really want to do it. I'm like, okay, great. And so we do, and it's fun and he enjoys it. And it's just really funny. My 14-year-old's like, I'm out. Bye. So
That's great. But you did say before we started recording that you were at a retreat, and I guess you helped some other people.
So I had a girls' weekend this past weekend, and
My goodness,
yeah,
you're having fun.
oh my, like, well, and it's funny because it's like this is my first actual girlfriend weekend that's not like family related, because I love my family, don't get me wrong, but like actual like a gathering of, there were 8 of us. Some I hadn't seen in like 20 years, and it was really great. So they had set aside time to do some one of my girlfriends is actually just got done doing somatic training, and so she took us through some of that, which was great. And then we did a listening circle where we each had 6 minutes to talk about whatever we want to talk about. And then I was able to kind of close out the time with a guided self chakra balancing with all of my girlfriends, and they were just like, "This is so cool."
I love that. That's
Yeah,
so great.
it was fun.
That's
So,
great.
and I told them,
And
I'm like, "This is the first time I've done this with anybody that's not my family." So,
that's great. But now you're beginning to flow some of that to your staff as well. You talked about, which has got to feel
yes.
so rewarding in order to help, like,
Mhm.
train a new stylist than like how we were trained, right? Because you talked about
Exactly.
wanting this, 20 years ago, and you're like, I
Mhm.
wish I had this 20 years ago when I was, back in the day, and we just weren't taught that way. So how great that you get to flow that to your team.
I'm excited, and then of course it's not something you ever like push on somebody. It's like, if you're interested, I'm here and I'm happy to like teach you what I've learned and help you with your own energetic boundaries.
That's great. Great.
Yeah,
Would you do Becoming Light again?
absolutely. Mhm.
Cool. Any words of advice for people who are watching this?
Um, Fear sucks. Just do it.
Great.
Yeah.
Direct to the point, no BS. I love it.
Mhm.
And where can people find you and connect with you? Because you have a new Instagram account.
I do, and there's nothing on it yet, but it's in the works. So we have our main salon is Asheville underscore hair underscore design, and then my new professional Instagram is healing therapist. And Yeah, so and of course ashevillehairdesign.com. I'm also in the process of creating a new website that is linked to the Asheville Hair Design website, because what I'm doing is completely different. And my poor salon manager, she's like, I don't know how to make this mesh. We're just giving you your own website. So okay. So which is also healing hairpist. It's is it hairpist or hairpy? I don't know. One of the two. It's yeah. So I went through so many like t- decisions of like what I wanted to be called.
Like, who am I? I
Who
get
am
to
I?
decide.
That's so hard. So hard. How do you wrap everything up in like 8 characters?
I don't know. I just said on a recent training, I was like, the Dyson blow dryer literally went through like hundreds of models and like beta testing and tweaking and lever pulling and all the things before we had the Dyson blow dryer that we now have. So like, I don't understand why you think that you're supposed to get it right and perfect right out of the gate. Get
Yeah.
real, sis.
Yeah.
So
I
you just
mean,
kind of get to like, as you know, I'm fond of saying, fuck around and find out.
yeah, pretty much. And that's kind of the stage I'm in right now. So, but
How
pretty
exciting.
sure pretty sure it's healingtherapist.com. So, but it's not up yet. It's still in the process. But Asheville Hair Design, you can find everything there. So yeah, that's where you can reach me.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, my love.
Absolutely.